Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If we haven't met, my name is Danny. Thanks for being here. It's great to have you here. So I run this YouTube channel and a blog by the same name, contentmentwithsimplicity.com. And I talk about homeschooling with young kids, living in a small space with young kids, and a little bit of birth and baby and birth prep and those kinds of things thrown in, living on a budget, that sort of thing. Basically just my life. That's what I share about. But today, what I want to talk about is planning the homeschool year, and specifically using a planner to plan the homeschool year. So I will just put this out there right up front. I'm going to be talking about something that I'm really excited about, which is my planner, the planner that I created, because I think it's awesome. So I'm going to share it with you because I want you to feel awesome about planning and executing your homeschool year as well. And I feel like I've created something that definitely was a game changer for me last year. And I have been using it since the beginning of February because I live in New Zealand. And so we do our school year on like the February to early December school year system. And it has been awesome. It's been working great. So I want to talk to you about why I created this planner, what this planner is about, and then I want to show you because I hate trying to look at planners online that don't actually show you the interior of the planner. So I want to show you like every single page that's in this planner so that you have a good idea of what's in it and you can decide if you think that it would be helpful for you or not this homeschool year. So let's see, why did I create this planner? Well, last year when I was homeschooling, I used a notebook, like a cheap, buy at a stationery store notebook with lines on it. And I drew in with a ruler and a pen every Sunday night. I drew in the different columns and the different sections that I wanted. And that worked fine. It actually worked great. And that was really the blueprint for this planner. But about last November, I told my husband, I'm getting kind of tired of drawing in lines with a ruler. And he was like, well, why don't you create something on Canva? And I thought, yeah, I could probably do that. And so I started tackling that project, creating just something that I could print off and use for the upcoming school year at that point. And well, as projects sometimes do, it just kind of grew and grew. And I began to realize after I'd created my prototype, I began to realize, oh, there's some other things that I'd like to add or tweak or that might be cool. And then there's just like lifestyle resources that would be really helpful for me to have as a quick reference. So for example, one of the things that I ended up doing in the back of my notebook thing last year was I just wrote down a lot of our favorite meals so that when it came time for me to sort of do my Sunday afternoon, evening kind of prep for the week, I had a list of common meals that we enjoyed that I could just quickly flip to and pick a couple of them to put on our meal plan. And I didn't have to do a lot of hunting around and trying to remember, is there anything? We've been having a lot of pizza focaccia and we've been having a lot of Buddha bowls, but what else have we enjoyed in the past? Because sometimes I just get stuck in a rut. So I did that, and then I started jotting down also in the back of my planner just some different ways to teach to my different kids who have different learning styles, tips to remember and consider. And I realized, wow, these would actually be really helpful things to have in my planner. And so that's kind of what I've done and I've created. And I really wanted to make this a print planner that I could set up a drop ship printing situation. And basically I have been stalled out for 3 months trying to figure out how to make that happen because like I said, I'm in New Zealand, but I wanted it to be available to the worldwide market, to people anywhere. English speaking, I guess would be helpful, but anywhere you are in the world. And it's just been kind of a bit of a hurdle. I also was first trimester pregnant in there, and so that was also a bit of a hurdle. So as it is now, it's a digital product, which is not what I was going for, but it'll work for now. And I just wanted to get it out there because I really, really think and hope sincerely that it's a blessing to other families. So Let's see, anything else in particular that I should add? No, let's just dive right in. I want to show you this planner. I'm gonna hold it up like librarian style so that you can see it. So I did go ahead and have it printed for the purpose of photographing it and being able to do this video. And I'll probably give this one away because I already have the planner that I created in January, well, that I finished creating and printed in January that I'm using through the rest of this school year. So I will be using that, but I mean, gosh, if you want a copy of it, I haven't given it away yet. So the first person who comments down below that they want it, let me know, give me your email address and I can see about shipping it to you. Maybe we could try it that way, right? You could get your own planner. So if you like it, if you don't like it, go do something else. That's totally fine. You totally don't have to feel committed to my planner. So this is what it looks like at the moment. Sorry for the reflection. That's my husband coming in, if you can't see. Yeah, he's coming in from the from the deck. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna adjust this a tiny bit so that you can see it a little bit better. So this is the first page. It's just a little inspiring quote and some data. This is, so like your phone number and name and stuff so that if it gets lost, people can get it back to you. Spots for you to write that in. This is a little letter from you. This is sort of the navigation page. So navigation page, this planner is divided into 6 sections. The first section is the welcome and the yearly overview, which we're in the middle of. The second section is all of my resource pages. So I have a resource page on time management, resource page on housekeeping, a resource page on side hustle and business if you're a mom trying to do that, because I am a mom trying to do that. And I found that I didn't want to switch between like 5 different notebooks, one for my meal planning, one for my, day-to-day life admin, one for my homeschool planning, and then one for my side hustle business, the blog posts that I'm writing, the videos that I'm filming, the Pinterest pins I need to create, the social media posts I need to do, the website updates I need to do. I didn't want to be flipping around to a bunch of different notebooks. I wanted to have everything in like one spot so that I just had to keep track of one thing rather than a bunch of them. So I also have a meal planning spread, a spread for connecting with your kids, different ideas for how to connect with kids and different personality types, and then learning style and teaching tips. Section 3 is like my goal setting pages. So there's some, you could either do this quarterly or bi-monthly. There's 6 different goal setting pages in here. I'm a big goal person. I totally usually do not hit all of my goals, but going through the process of writing down my goals for like a time period, like a 2-month time period or a 3-month time period, writing them down and then being able to like come back to them, I find that I think I make better progress on those goals than I would if I never wrote them down. So for me, the exercise of just writing them down can be really helpful. And then we have our weekly spreads. So the weekly like life administration is on one side, and then the homeschool kind of planning or record keeping spread is on the other side. And then the last section, section 6, is end of the year reflection and notes. So that's what this notebook covers. This is kind of the annual overview. So this is a 2025 calendar, 2026 calendar. This is just a box for each month where you can write down birthdays, anniversaries, important dates. You could even put down like appointments and stuff. Like, I don't know about you, but like my dentist schedules me for an appointment like 6 months in advance. So it's helpful to just be able to jot it down there so that I can quick reference it, along with putting it into like my actual calendar. This is the time management spread. So over here, I have sort of a bit of an exercise for you to kind of walk through, to look at how you're spending your time. And then over here, I just have a whole bunch of different resources that I have utilized over the years or other people have talked about and using. Honestly, I feel like these are all things that I utilize. That's why I put them in, because they're helpful to me. So just kind of tips to, sometimes they just inspire me to actually do what I'm supposed to be doing in a certain time block, but then sometimes they're just helpful resources to kind of come back to. Like one of my favorites is the Eisenhower method here, where you divide your tasks up into quadrants, and it's like, this is important and urgent, this is important but not urgent, this is urgent but not important, and this is not important and not urgent. And that just helps me, like when I'm brain dumping all of the things that I have bouncing around inside my brain, the tasks I need to do. That helps me sort of categorize and prioritize what comes first. So the next spread is just like a pretty basic housekeeping spread. I think I've talked on here before. In fact, one of my past videos, I'll link it below, is on how we kind of do our housekeeping. So this is just sort of a system to kind of like a worksheet to sort of walk through and set up your system. This is the side hustle and business kind of resource page. So some encouragement in here, because if you are anything like me, you're like building something from the ground up, trying to figure out how to do this. And sometimes it's just helpful to have some really practical strategies set in place. So I did some research to put onto this page, so it would be a helpful resource. This is my meal planning spread. So both sides are meal planning. Over here, I have lists of like common produce that's in season in each of the like 4 seasons of the year. So spring, summer, autumn, and winter, because I usually find buying stuff in season is cheaper. So I like to sort of think about and keep in mind what are the seasonal fruits and veggies that I can get. That might just be because I live in New Zealand. And we eat quite seasonally here because we're a long ways away from anywhere else. But yeah, it might be helpful. And then these are just a list of common protein sources, healthy starch sources, like whole grain sources, and then just like kind of your high nutrient foods. I usually kind of meal plan around, okay, what's my protein source? What's my starch or carbohydrate source? And then what are at least some of high nutrient foods that I can get into each meal? And then this is just like my process to how I meal plan and my 5 steps. And then down here at the bottom is just a couple random things. It's different flavor inspirations, because I find you can use a lot of the same ingredients, but just use different flavorings on them. So you can do like a Buddha bowl and you can go like lean Greek flavoring with it, or lean Mexican flavoring with it, or lean, I don't know, like teriyaki Asian flavoring with it. So these are a bunch of different breakfast ideas and then simple lunch ideas, because again, as a mom, sometimes it's just helpful to have those resources at your fingertips. This is my meal planning inspiration. This is the list that I put in the back of my notebook last year that I just put it on here and tried to make it a little bit prettier. So I've just organized it by like, these are some 30-minute meals, kind of quick, fast meals, some soups and stews. I lean into this heavy in the winter time. Casseroles and bakes, another common wintertime thing. Chicken meals that kind of feature chicken, meals that feature eggs, meals that feature beef, bowls, different kinds of bowls. And then down here is my crock pot meals, or meals that I can use for like food prep. And then this is my like 90% done freezer meals. So about once a quarter, my husband and I set aside like half a day to do a big kind of batch cooking of maybe like 4 different dinners. So we'll like quadruple 4 different dinners. And I love to do these like 90% done freezer meals. Like I have a really yummy peanut butter curry recipe that I do. Like I like to do like a good veggie rich like bolognese, and they're like the sauces. So you can make the sauces and freeze them. And then when it's time to cook the food, I can pull out, or you know, the day that I want to eat it, I can pull out the sauce and make a pot of pasta to go with it, or a pot of rice to go with it. And it has like your protein and your vegetables, your superfoods kind of already in the sauce. And then you just kind of add your starch to it. So I love doing those kinds of freezer meals. On the next page, I just have something that's like different ideas for connecting with your kids. This is a tip, because again, this is like for me personally, this is, you know, I created this based on what I needed, really. I am not the best at doing imaginative play with my children, and they love doing imaginative play. It's like one of their favorite things. And I've listened to, you know, podcasts, and I read a whole book on play, and imaginative play is important for kids and their brain development. And so I went ahead and wrote up like some tips for myself of how to engage in imaginative play with my kids. Over here's just some questions you can ask your kids. Down here is some different love language connection ideas. So if you have a physical touch kid or a words of affirmation type kid, you know that that's kind of how you fill up their love tank. These are some different ideas about how to do so. And then sometimes it's helpful for me to have a bit of a script for like apologizing to my kids and making sure that I'm not turning it into like a lecture or like a, well, I'm sorry I did this, but actually like sincerely apologizing to them. So I included that in there too. This is all about learning styles and teaching tips. So kids who, excuse me, tend to learn by seeing, tend to learn by hearing, tend to learn by reading and writing, and tend to learn by doing, some different ways to kind of help support them. And then teaching to different learning styles, some brain break ideas, because I'm assuming this is going to be for homeschooling moms, and sometimes it's helpful to have sort of a rotation of things to work through with them when you're like, okay, we all need to take a little break, but what are we going to do? And then helpful supplies, just kind of a basic supplies or ideas to utilize in homeschooling. If you happen to be getting started in homeschooling, that might just be a nice, helpful little section for you. And some like encouragement for moms, some truths to remember, like your child was given to you for a reason. And so you are a gift to them and they are a gift to you. And I firmly believe that that's how God designed it to be. And I think that it's helpful to just remember that perspective sometimes. And then the last page of the resources is some like self-care, because I am not really into like an obsession with self-care, but I do think sometimes as a homeschooling mom, it can be easy. Thank you. My husband just brought me my bottle of water, talking about I don't even need to self-care. I just have a husband who cares for me. But sometimes it can be helpful to recognize and remember, oh, I do need to, in order for me to, okay, sometimes you've got to just pour out of a very low cup, so to speak, because that's what needs to happen and that's what your family needs. But when I can, and I have a little bit of margin in my life, it is helpful for me to remember, I need to use some of this time to actually take care of myself. And so like this goes through some different kinds of rest, because not everybody rests in the same way. Not everybody feels rested in the same way. This is just some different ways that you can move your body, exercise in like small segments of time. So this is like if you have 1 to 3 minutes, these are some things you can do. If you've got 4 to 10 minutes, these are some things you can do. If you've got 11 to 19 minutes, these are some things you can do. If you've got 20 to 35 minutes, these are some things you can do. Just ideas, so you can kind of have some place to start with how do I kind of just get to where I'm physically taking care of myself. Some ideas for developing your creativity, because I think as a person that having opportunities to develop creativity and express that creativity is actually really enriching to my life. Some different things that might be interesting to keep learning about, because I think that something that just makes us, if we're teaching our kids, if we're homeschooling our kids and modeling that to our kids, I want to also model that there's things in the world that I want to keep learning about. And then a little tip on setting boundaries, which is not one of my strongest suits, but I'm trying to learn on that. Getting outside, some ideas, relaxation and pampering, and then social and friendships. So just some basic sort of ways to consider how to take care of yourself. On the other side of that is just a page for notes, because sometimes you just need a place to jot notes. Okay, now we're getting into the next section, which is the goal setting section. So these are the same. There's 6 pages of this, and then we move into the monthly brainstorming spread. So I have this divided into some different categories. So you would fill this out for like a 2-month time period or a 3-month time period. Sorry, I know it's hard to see me and the page on the camera, but I'm hoping that looking at this is actually more valuable than looking in my eyes at the moment. So this is like family social goal setting. So you start with the desired outcome. These are the actions or steps, action steps or tasks to take. And then this is like the frequency that you're shooting for or the date by which you want to have that done. So family and social goal setting, personal goal setting, so same idea, home management goal setting, business or your side hustle goal setting, and homeschooling goal setting. So just kind of covering some of those basic, I guess like the categories or sections of your life, being able to intentionally say like, oh, for our family or for our social, we want to be building community in this season of life. And so I'm going to try to have somebody into our home, like host somebody for dinner, once a week for the next 2 months and see how that goes. Obviously, with goal setting, you're setting a goal. It's not like you're like committing and locking yourself into this. It's just like, this is my goal. I want to make sure that I'm prioritizing it. So maybe we won't have everybody every single week because, sickness happens or people get busy, but it's a good goal. And I bet you by the end of the 2 months, we will have had more people into our home than we did the previous 2 months. Okay, and then the brainstorming and organization. This is a monthly spread, so both pages go for each month. And I have just tried to make this like sort of a place to brain dump your ideas. And I went ahead and put different categories on here because sometimes it helps me get started to have some different categories. You could totally cross out the categories and put in your own categories or whatever. So over here, I have self-care, family memory making. One of my passions is the fact that in terms of parenting is the fact that I want to be intentional to make good memories with my kids, to build like a strong family culture, a place where they really feel like they belong and that my kids have really good friendships with each other and that we feel like we're a unit, a team that's like working together. That's one of my goals and desires as a parent. So family memory making is something that I've sought to try to be intentional about implementing. Meals, this is just where you can put some of those meal ideas if you want to, or if you come up with other ideas. Connecting with kids is down here, and connecting with your spouse. So just brainstorming different ways you might be able to do that. And then on this side is the house yard projects, because if you're anything like me, you're always tweaking something around your house. And then over here is kind of your homeschooling field trips, or if you wanted to keep track of your resources or expenses. So you could use this one of two ways. You could really like sit down and brainstorm and organize and kind of put some brainstormed ideas down on paper at the beginning of the month, or you could refer back to it throughout the month and like record keep, which is also fun because it helps like, oh yeah, we did like 4 different Saturdays this month where we hung out as a family and we were really intentional with that time. So you could record keep that as well. Books, because we're homeschoolers, so of course you're gonna be reading books, right? And then this is just a blank one. There's a blank one down here for you to put in your own category. And then this is the business, content creation, marketing, record keeping, that sort of thing for the month. So there's 12 of these, so one for each month of the year. And I'm gonna flip through them all the way to the end. Okay, and then we get into our weekly spreads. So this is most of the rest of the notebook. There's 51 weekly spreads. They start in the week of August 17th through the 23rd of 2025. And then they go all the way through August 9th through 15th of 2026. I realize that not everybody homeschools all year round, but I wanted to, because these weekly spreads are also like your life administration, I wanted to have a weekly spread for the whole year, and I didn't know when exactly people would take breaks. So some people might take 2 weeks off at Christmas and a week at spring break. Some people might do a fall break. Some people might, take more time off than that and kind of do more of a homeschooling year-round approach. I wasn't sure, so I just went ahead and did 51 weeks of this weekly spread and figured you can customize it and adapt it. If you don't put anything in on the homeschool planning page for, your break weeks, that's totally fine. So on this side is the weekly administration. Up here, it starts with a weekly focus. Sometimes I put like our Bible verse that we're trying to memorize that week. We do not memorize a verse every week, just so that you don't feel like stressed by that. But we do we're trying to work on memorizing the Sermon on the Mount this year. We're quite far behind. I think it might be a 2-year project, but if I write it up here, then I at least have something to kind of reference. Over here is our to-do list for the week. Again, this is kind of a brain dump of like, oh, we need to sign our New Zealand taxes this week. So on my notebook, this is over, I have signed taxes. What other things might there be? You know, if you need to call and schedule a car, we need to get our car into like the auto electrician because the heat's not working. Which for us, because it's wintertime right now, that's a little bit chilly. So I have that on my to-do list. So that would just be kind of the to-do list. Starts on your week. My week usually starts on Sunday, so I organized it that way. These little rows, this is breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you can actually meal plan straight onto your week if you would like to. Obviously, you don't have to. I end up kind of blocking my day around our meals. So I usually have some task work time in the morning before breakfast. And then I have the morning block of time, and then we have lunch, and then I have the afternoon block of time. Sometimes I divide my afternoon into more like 2 blocks, kind of a first half of the morning and then like a dinner prep first half of the afternoon and then like a dinner prep part of the afternoon and then the evening block. And so I have that every day, and then it just goes Sunday, Monday through Saturday. And then down here at the bottom is a place for habit tracking. And so this is like where if I feel like, oh, my, second born child seems to be having some behavior issues or whatever, I will oftentimes try to front load connection with that child, making sure that I make a point to look that child in the eye and say something. My second born tends to be, I'm just using her as an example, but she tends to be a acts of service kid and words of affirmation kid. And so I try to write in something like, gem connection time. And then it just means that I can tick off when I have intentionally made a point to connect with her or speak something affirming or encouraging to her. Obviously, she's in my, we live together, so there's a lot of communication, but I want to be intentional about being really, encouraging and filling up her little love tank with all the kids. So if you wanted to, you could put in a child on each line, and that would give you kind of a track record, just a habit ticking of making sure that you are being intentional about connecting with that child or encouraging them. You could also put in, exercise or whatever habit you're trying to establish. You could put it in there. I like to have 3 priority tasks for the week. So this is the 3 things that I'm really gonna go after first. And then here's just a blank area over here where you can record keep or jot notes or whatever. And then on the other side of the spread, so this is the kind of home and life admin side. This side is the homeschool side. So we homeschool usually 4 days a week, but I went ahead and scheduled this as 5 days a week because I know that that's really common for some people, for most people. And I also like to have the option to kind of overflow into Friday. And then these are spots for your subjects over here. So I usually just write in this way. I'll write in Bible, science, history, Mara math, Gem math, Mara language arts, Gem language arts. And then at the beginning of the week on Sunday afternoons, I usually go through and check and see okay, what was the last math lesson we did last week? All right, we're gonna start with, so for us right now, I think it was number 82 or something. So that means that on Mara math, we'll start with 83, 84, 85, 86. So I put it in here. I usually only plan 1 week at a time. Although up here, I just keep track in this blank area because obviously white space, you can use that. But I keep track of okay, target goal to stay on track by finish the school year by the day that I want to finish the school year. How many lessons per week do I need to do of math and language arts? As kind of our core subjects. How many lessons per week do I need to do of science? How many lessons do I need to do per week of history or whatever? I keep track up here. So last week, we're a little bit ahead on math and language arts right now. So I think last week we were supposed to get lesson 73 through 77 done or something. So if she's on 82, I know she's ahead. I don't have to like stress about it. So if we don't get to math one of the days this week and something else takes up our time, it's not the end of the world. So I just keep track of the subjects, and then across here, so on Monday, I'm just working my way down the column, and then I'm doing the same thing on Tuesday. I write it all in as what my plan is, and then when it's done each day, I check it off so that I know, oh, we've finished that today. Down here, I just have a little spot for books finished, because that's part of my like homeschool record with the kids. So I keep track of which books I've read aloud to them and what date we finished them by. And then right here, I just have a spot for like a homeschooling highlight or win or quote or growth area. If there's something that I'm like, this is a pattern that is not healthy, we need to work on we need to work on changing this or growing in this area, I'll jot it down there so that then I can intentionally think about how might I be able to focus on that growth area. And then another just little blank box for you. So again, we have 51 spreads of those. So all the way I'm flipping through, that's May, all the way through July, and then into August. So each week looks the same. And then at the very end of the book, I have this spread, this is just like a month by month reflection. So there's 12 of them. You could either, again, record keep as you go along. So, what were some highlights the month of August? What were some highlights the month of September? Or you could do it as part of like an end of the year reflection as you think back. And obviously your planner is here, so you've got like the whole year's worth of school and life that happened. You can think back and be like, oh, what were some highlights or lowlights? What's sticking out to me about the month of September? What's sticking out to me about the month of October? So that's there. And then this over here, this is just an exercise that Gabe and I have done, my husband and I have done, as we've come to like some seasons of transition. And I've started to do this kind of at the end of each calendar year, although I think it would be very useful to do at the end of each school year as well. But I ask myself 4 questions. So the first one I ask is, in this last, X amount of time, season of time, what was good about it? What can I be thankful to God for? What was a blessing to me? What was good about it? The second question I ask is, what was hard about it? Because I think I want to be somebody who's quite authentic in my faith and authentic in how I communicate. And I don't want to just I think there's a perspective of it's important to be able to focus on the good and not just focus on the negative, but I also don't want to gloss over what was hard, because I think sometimes our biggest areas of growth or potential growth come from what was hard. So what was hard about this season? Down here, what do I need to let go of? So seasons come and then they go, and at the end of summer, you kind of let go of your super long days of, daylight and being outdoors and doing a lot of kind of extroverted things. And you let go of that, but then you'd let go of it so that you can sort of embrace the autumn coziness and more of that closer knit, cozy community in your home sort of feel. So what do I need to let go of? And then over here's, what do I get to take with me? And so what are the things that I have grown in or that I have developed in me that transfer into the next season? So I like to do those 4 reflection questions at times of change in the seasons. And then there's just some blank pages at the end of it. So that is I call it the ultimate homeschool and life planner. And I would never want you to feel pressured to go purchase this if it is not going to actually be a blessing to you. But I wanted you to know what's inside of it, because if you have been looking for a planner like this, I haven't personally found any other planners on the market that I can find that do this sort of pairing of the home and life admin and the homeschool kind of on the same page, along with some of the resources kind of at your fingertips and goal setting, particularly in the area of having a side business or a side hustle, which is important for me because I've been working on building my blog, and now I've started this YouTube channel. I've been trying to do that for several years, and I want to keep progressing momentum. It's a very small part-time side thing in my life, but because it's so small, I feel like I have to have a place to like record my ideas, because I need to just like jot them down and then be able to check back into my, homeschool mom life or whatever. So if this would be a blessing for you, I would be so excited if you, so honored if you wanted to pop over to my website and check it out. I am selling it for $19.99 as a digital download, but for the first 50 people who purchase it, there's a 25% discount code or $5 off. And that discount code is FIRST, FIRST, all capital letters, and then the number 50, the number 5 and the number 0. So you can put that into the coupon code and get $5 off of it, 25% off of it, and get the digital download for $14.99. I did try to keep, so if you notice, the whole interior is all black and white. There's no color, and I didn't do a lot of fancy, extra pictures and things like that, because I wanted it to be as cheap as possible to print. So you can print it on a home computer, on a home printer, or I printed a copy at Office Depot for my sister. You could check with your local, printing company, or I don't know if Walmart would print it or anything like that. But I really wanted, because I personally don't feel like I have the budget to buy really high-end planners. So I wanted to find something and I wanted to create something and put something out there that other people could find that was within a price point that would work for them. So I am hoping that this number isn't a price point. If you feel like it is too steep and too expensive, would you let me know in the comments below, because that's valuable feedback for me. So anyhow, I just wanted to share that. I am super excited about it. If it's not your thing, that's totally okay. If you're not a planner kind of person, if you have something that already works for you, go and have a wonderful school year. You don't have to use my planner, but maybe this would be helpful for you, or maybe just some of the ideas that I talked about. I mean, you can totally buy your own notebook and just use your rulers and pen and pencil. By all means, if that's helpful for you, use the ideas. Be blessed. And I'm sorry this got so long, but thank you so much for hanging with me. I hope you have a wonderful, fabulous week. And that's it. Thanks so much.